You ever finish a commander game and think, I did everything right, and I still lost? I removed the biggest threat, I stopped the combo, I paid for Wistic study, I even tried to get the table to work together, and I still lost. And honestly, that feeling sticks with you. On the way home, you're just replaying everything in your head. Did I misplay? Could I have done something differently? Or is my deck just not strong enough? So you start upgrading, spend a little bit more money, change a few cards, tell yourself, okay, this time it will be different. Then the next game night comes, and the same thing happens. You lose again. Hey, I've been there, more times than I like to admit. And after years of playing Commander, I realized it's not always about misplays, and it's not always about how strong your deck is. There are parts of the game that we don't really talk about, but they affect almost every single game we play. So in this video, I just want to share my experience, not as an expert, but as another casual Commander player who has been through the same thing. I know Commander is a social format, and it's not really meant to be competitive, but at the same time, there's nothing wrong with wanting to get better. So let's start from the very beginning. Identifying the most powerful commander at the table. I know this might sound a bit weird, but I really believe the game starts before you even draw your opening hand. The moment commanders flip over, that's when the game begins. Now when I sit down at the table, the first thing I do is look around and ask myself, who's the biggest problem here? And what are they trying to do? Because not all commanders are created equal, some of them are just stronger, faster, more consistent. And we can't control that, but we can be aware of it. Like if the player next to me is playing Tati over, I already know what's coming. Ram, card draw, just endless simic value. And if I leave it alone too long, it's going to take over the game. If someone's playing a Layla, I'm expecting interaction, counter spells, my key pieces getting stopped at the worst possible moment. And if I see Krenko, I'm already thinking, okay, if we don't deal with this early, the board is getting flooded with goblins. Just knowing that changes how I approach the entire game. Now you have a general idea of what is going to happen in the game. You draw your opening hand. This is where you decide how your game is going to go. I used to keep hands that were just playable. 3 lands, a couple of spells, seems fine, right? But over time I realized that's not enough. Now I ask myself, what is this hand actually trying to do? Because I built this deck, I should know what a good start looks like. If I want to cast my 4-mana commander on turn 3, I need that 2-mana rock. If my deck is full of 2 drops, I should probably see one in my opening hand. If my hand doesn't really do anything in the first few turns, it's probably not a keep. And yeah, Mulligan can feel bad sometimes, but I've learned a 6-card hand with a plan is way better than a random 7 that just kinda works. And sometimes, even just having a board wipe in your opening hand can completely change how you play the game. Instead of curving out, you might hold back. Maybe you don't cast your commander right away, maybe you avoid committing your best creatures early. You just set up and wait. Then on turn 4 or 5, you wipe everything. It doesn't always work, but when it does, it usually puts you way ahead. And of course, it's not just about your own deck. You're also trying to prepare for 3 other players at the same time, which honestly is kind of impossible. If I'm sitting across from Krenko, I want early removal, something like Path to Exile. If someone is on Mirren, I want a counter spell before turn 5 because I really don't want to deal with that wall cost. If someone is playing a Graveyard deck like Zephyrus, Graveyard Hate becomes really important. But realistically, you're not going to have everything, and that's something I had to accept. I realized I'm not supposed to answer everything. Instead, I start focusing on what my deck is actually good against. Like, if I'm playing Pillow Fort, I'm not too worried about the creature decks. But if I'm playing aggro, the life gain deck can become a real problem. That shift alone made my decisions feel a lot clearer. And then the game actually starts. That's where things get messy. Because now every decision feels like it matters. People always say something is kill on sight. But if everything is kill on sight, what do you actually choose to kill? And more importantly, who is supposed to deal with it? I had this one game that still sticks with me. My opponent taps out and casts Nimizet and passes the turn to me. It was around turn 6 or 7, and I was playing Obun, and I had a Beast Within in my hand. And I just stared at the table, knowing exactly what I was supposed to do. I knew I should remove it. If that thing untaps, there's a real chance we just lose. But at the same time, I was already behind. I missed my land drop with only 5 lands in play, not really doing much. And I remember thinking, if I spend my turn dealing with this, am I just losing slower? Part of me wanted to be a responsible player, do the right thing, save the table. But another part of me was like, if I do this, I'm probably out of the game. So I didn't. I cast my commander instead and hoped someone else had an answer. They didn't. Next turn, they missed an untap, and the game just ended. And I just sat there thinking, was that my fault? Honestly, I still don't know. Another one that always gets me is Rhystic Study. I do my part, I pay the 1, I try not to feed them cards. But then someone else just doesn't care. And suddenly, the Rhystic player is drawing 5, 6, 7 extra cards. And somehow I'm the one falling behind. Same thing when you try to remind the table. Hey, they have exquisite blood. If no one removes it, we're dead. And instead, someone blows up your propaganda. That's when it finally clicked for me. You can't control how other people play. And honestly, that might be the hardest part of Commander. So, what's the takeaway? If you have played Commander long enough, you already know power levels are all over the place. Even when someone thinks they are on the same level, they usually aren't. And sometimes, you really do make all the right decisions. You pay for Rhystic Study, you identify the biggest threat, and you try to work with the table, and you still lose. And I think that's something we just have to accept. Because Commander isn't a 1v1 game. You are playing with 3 other people, 3 different plans, 3 different mindsets. Everyone sees the game differently, and the game doesn't always reward the right play. Sometimes, the game just didn't go your way. I still hate losing. I don't think that feeling ever really goes away. But now, instead of asking, why did I lose? I ask myself, did I give myself the best chance to win? Did I have a plan? Did I mulligan well? If the answer is yes, then honestly, I'm okay with it. Because getting better at Commander isn't about winning every game. It's about showing up with a plan, making the best decisions you can, and being okay with the result. Even when it sucks, even when you know you did everything right. Alright, that's all from me. I know this is different than my other videos. I hope you like it. But I'm really curious, have you ever felt this way after a game? Like you did everything right and still lost? What is the most frustrating moment you had in Commander? Let me know in the comments. I'd love to hear your story. Thank you so much for watching. This is MTG Flatfish, and I will see you guys next time.